Good evening,
Hello.
Pamela.
Good evening,
You're
Jenny.
not at Atlantic City. You're in your house office.
I am
Are
right
you
now.
Are you going to Atlantic City?
I am going to be on my way very shortly because I'm extremely late due to unforeseen circumstances that came up this afternoon involving an attempted murder case.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
So, are you the murderess, or what?
No, I
Are
am
you
the
defending?
defender.
You're defending the guy. So what is
Every
that?
attempted murder and they're purely allegations. But I will tell you one thing though. First of all, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Vinny, and good evening, Anthony, behind the screens, and to all our listeners and viewers. But I will tell you something really interesting. That after the prosecutor made this long, drawn-out bail argument where he asked for $500,000 bail and bond and secured bonds, so he tells the judge, excuse me, he tells the judge that he has taken still photos from the surveillance cameras that were provided by the police where at this bodega where this allegedly took place about 10 days ago. And after he shows the pictures to both the judge and myself off the bench in a sidebar, I'm going to tell you something. Stevie Wonder could see that it's not the same person. I'm serious. I'm like, it's unbelievable. And I looked at him. I looked at the judge. I'm like, really?
Was it a black judge? No.
No, it's just yes. And so is my client. But the crazy thing is, without getting into it elaborately, but the gentleman in the photos, you can see clear as day, heavy set, facial hair, and wearing glasses. My client, who does not wear glasses at all, and virtually no facial hair, it doesn't even look like him. Seriously, you could take. I looked at the judge. I was like, Your Honor, I go, look at these pictures. Look at my client. You can clearly see it's not the same person. So I got the bail reduced only for the fact that the alleged victim, who must be a gangbanger, he was shot at 6 times, is walking around with 3 bullets in him, and refused to cooperate with the police because he has an open case for strangulation of his baby mama. And he's refused.
A good witness. Yeah, he's a really great witness.
He's very cooperative. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know why? Because if whatever he says at this trial could be used against him in the other trial, but he's probably guilty as sin.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know with regards to the surveillance. I mean, seriously, you look at these photos. First of all, one of them was so blurry, you couldn't even make out a face. It looked like an alien. So what the DA was like, but look at the clothing. It's the same color clothing, and it's in close proximity. I'm like, okay, it's a blue hoodie that anybody in Brooklyn or in the tri-state area or the United States is wearing. Blue hoodie.
And can I ask you something? Without sounding prejudiced, was the defendant black?
My client is African American.
And the other guy is African American too.
The victim, because he was out there with a.
The best defense would have been they all look alike.
I'm not saying that in court.
I would say that, and I would get.
I know. This is why you're the disorder. This is why it's called law and disorder. You're the disorder.
I am the disorder, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of something. I want to make a statement, not a political, but I want to make a statement.
Go ahead.
Elon Musk just acquired Twitter, and I believe that he would be given the platform free speech. And I don't know why anybody would go against him or go against it, because free speech. Now, what he's doing is he's not letting people get, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to be politically correct. Stymied, or like, for example, Hunter Biden. They blocked all the media about Hunter Biden until now. Now it's coming out. But they didn't want to do it at the election because it would have hurt Joe Biden. Because let's face it, if Trump really lost, and he did lose, let's say he lost because a lot of people didn't like him. They voted against him, not for Biden. They voted against him. And because he pissed off a lot of people.
Okay, the bottom line is there was an election. People came out to vote.
Yeah.
The votes were cast. They were recounted 100 times. Trump filed lawsuits anywhere and everywhere that he could. Lawsuits were tossed.
And they lost every lawsuit.
Exactly.
They lost the election.
He lost the election. this is what it comes down to. Did you ever run for election of your school office when you were in junior high to run the candy store, the school office? Ever have an election?
What?
Not an erection, an election.
Oh, an erection. Oh, I thought you were talking about my erection.
No. Okay, there's a winner, there's a loser. You can count the votes all the time you want. You can say, oh, I won the popular vote. The bottom line is there was an election. The votes were tabulated. Like it or not, the results came in. Trump lost, Biden won. See you at 2024, whoever's going to be the new candidates. That's the bottom line. So now, yes, with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, everything now, people can say what they want. However, you talk about freedom of speech. Hate speech, you cannot use hate speech. You cannot use any terroristic threats.
Right.
You cannot say, well, that's part of free speech. You cannot go, and we learn this like within the first year of law school when we're learning about torts. Okay, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater and say, oh, it's free speech.
Yeah.
You can't do anything that's going to incite violence, incite a riot, and try and hide behind, well, freedom of speech, First Amendment. You can't. So you still have to watch what you say, and of course, if you tweet something that looks like hate speech or
yeah, but that's normal. But that's normal.
Right?
Should be that way. So I don't know why. I tell you why. A lot of people on the left are afraid that Trump is going to go back on Twitter because he was a Twitterer. He tweeted left. He goes to sleep at night. He twitters in his sleep. He tweets in his sleep.
He tweeted.
He's a tweeter. He's sweeter, but he's a tweeter.
He's a midnight tweeter.
And that got him elected. The tweeting got him. He did a very good publicity. He tweeted the shit out of everybody, and that's how he got elected. But the second time, it didn't work for him. But the other thing that is interesting is in California, Florida, they took away the status of Disney World or Disneyland, whatever you want to call it, and they have an autonomous area, the McReady, the name of the county. It's two counties, but it's called Reedy Creek that they have, and they have their own police department. They have their own taxation, and everything. And because of the CRT or this, not this sexual conduct with the children under 8 years of age, they changed the law in California and Florida, and they call it the "Don't Say Gay." That's not true. It's not in the context in the contents of the bill, but they're blowing their heads up over this. It's just another, and then Netflix took a beating because they got woke, and all the people that go woke go broke.
I'm still trying to
That's my only political comment I'm going to make.
I'm trying to still understand between awake and woke. But
awake, you're dead. Woke, you're going to be dead.
Okay, well, we're going to move away from that because right now we're awake and we're on our show.
Mafia Cops. Now, do you have any, as a prosecutor, do you have any dealings with them at all?
No, I had no dealings with either one.
As an investigator, I had dealings with one of the commanding officers of the two of them.
Right, but Vinny, just to interrupt you for a second, when these two officers, and tonight's topic is about Stephen Caracappa and Louis Eppolito, when they were police officers, I believe, I don't know, that was like in the 80s and 90s and 2000s.
Michael Spain says Disney has a hidden clause. What's the hidden clause?
I don't know. I wasn't following through right now on that.
I know they got Santa Claus, but I don't know about a hidden clause.
There's Mrs. Claus. Well, besides talking about that,
I'm in a goofy, good mood tonight.
You're kind of very frisky, I know.
It's fun. You bring it out of me. I only keep you around for that reason.
That's great. You don't need the little blue pill now.
Small print to protect them. Oh, is that a joke, Michael? Small print to protect them. Sounds like it's like a joke. Can I use it in my comedy routine?
So anyway, just wait before we go to tonight's topic, because it's very into and relevant to tonight's topic. New York City, big mafia bust today. The feds charged 6 Genovese crime family mobsters in an 11-year gambling and violent extortion enterprise. And this is in the Southern District, Manhattan Federal Court. 6 members of a notorious New York City crime family were charged with a racketeering conspiracy involving illegal gambling and extortion. Prosecutors said the 6 alleged mobsters associated with the Genovese crime family made money through illegal gambling, loan sharking, and usually what they're known for, gambling, racketeering. And what they're saying is, it's like, here it goes. Every couple of years, they go after all the whatever Italians are around, Southern District, Eastern District, and they bring them in.
Oh yeah, and most of them are Genevieve. I think there's a Gambino in there somewhere. I have the article too.
I have the article too. I was reading it.
The funny thing, when they wrote the contract with the country and state, a clause written in the contract protects them from exactly what they are facing today. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen, Michael. You know, that could be overturned. I don't know. Look, you got another year before they actually lose their status. So anything could happen in the next year. And you know, Michael, you've been in law enforcement. You know that the deals are made, pleas are made, all kinds of things. You know, you don't know. They might just make an exception, or who knows? I don't know. But the ramifications of them losing the status, some people say that the people are going to get hit with big tax bills and stuff like that. But they already paying taxes to Disneyland, the Disney World, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. This whole world is going upside down. We got a war in Ukraine that looks like going to be a third world war. They're saber rattling. They're talking about a possible nuclear. You know, they're doing that to scare everybody, and they're doing a good job. People are scared. Everybody's worried about that. Even though we're 4,000 miles away from there. Or maybe 5,000. Wait, Ukraine is.
Well, you don't realize, Vinny, that anything that occurs over there, you know, in the air, it's going to travel around the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, if they decide to use nuclear weapons, if they use anything like that, it's not isolated to just that area.
Well, do you know there's 2 types of nuclear weapons? There's the tactical, and there's the extreme. The extreme is the one we're really worried about. The tactical is bad enough. Tactical is a smaller, smaller area, and it's like, for example, with Ukraine, they would use a tactical nuclear weapon to wipe out a whole city, but the other kind would be devastating. And now the problem is that the NATO. I think the only country in NATO that has a nuclear weapon is France. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We're going to have to address that on another evening when we have some.
Yeah, we can get into that. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the mob.
Let me bring you back on top.
We have Pamela. We have our guest who's a mob wife. She was they did a story that she was in about being a mob wife. There was a reality series called. She wasn't in that one. She was in a different one.
Right. So we are going to bring her on shortly. Angela.
We're going to get her on later, and we're going to talk about how the mafia devastated her family, and how it's not as, you know, it's portrayed. It's portrayed as you know, it's like almost like Robin Hood, but only thing is they don't rob from the rich and give to the poor. They rob from the rich and keep it. They don't give it to the poor. But what happens is there's an allure. There's something about the mafia and organized crime, and people love that. They don't want to be in it, but they want to listen to it. They want to watch The Godfather. They want to watch Goodfellas. Matter of fact, our guest grew up with those people. She knows the Goodfellas. She went to school with some of the guys. She knows them. She could tell us some insights about them, and not always good, but what are you going to do? We have, and Ham and I are going to talk tonight also about why. See, Pam and I have two different but similar perspectives. She was a prosecutor. Now she's a defense attorney. I was a government investigator. I worked with NYPD. I worked with Suffolk PD. I worked with Nassau PD. I worked with all of them because as a state investigator, I went around the whole state. But I never went past Albany. I hate going upstate. Yeah, kind of like.
You know crazy? Well, I'll just tell you something real crazy. When you go upstate,
my territory was Montauk Point, right. Montauk Point, all the way Nassau County, Suffolk County, all the way to Westchester and up to Albany, and New York City had its own. They had this own office, own squad, and we handled. I mean, it was unbelievable. But we made we used our own cars, and we got paid mileage. Now it's 55 cents a mile. At that time, it was 27 cents a mile. I got $1,000 a month in expenses. It was good. And in the 70s, that was pretty good. It was a lot of money. And I was doing some work on the side. I had a couple licenses. I had an arson arson adjuster's license, and a process server's license, which made more money doing that than what I was getting paid from the government. But it was okay. I was allowed to do it. So, but
so tonight's topic, we are going to discuss. There were two police officers, Stephen Caracappa and Louis Eppolito. They were both New York City police officers. They were detectives.
Right? Highly decorated detectives.
Highly decorated detectives, and they took two oaths. They took one oath to protect
and serve.
Protect and serve the public as New York City police officers and detectives with the badge. And then they took a blood oath where they swore their allegiance to the five families in the American mafia.
Yeah, I don't think they weren't made to be. You can't be a cop and be made, but they were associates. But they were with, as they say, they're with them. With them. I used to hang out with Sonny Francesi, but I was his private investigator and a friend. And one day, one of the guys, you're with Sonny. No, I said, don't say I'm with Sonny. I said, I'll be on every FBI 312 form. And he's with Sonny, And as a matter of fact, one of the family members retired, was in the same family. And they got mad at me. You can't be with him. You're with us. But we're family. I said, I'm not with you. I'm related to you. That's the whole,
I'm not with you, but I'm with you.
A whole hour just on that alone.
Well, these two officers, they're now both dead, but these two officers, for many, many years, they were known as the Mafia Cops. Yeah. So apparently, this was going on from the years of 1980s through the 1990s. Now, at that point in time, in the 80s, I wasn't even in law school yet. But apparently, in 2006, they were convicted of labor racketeering, extortion, narcotics, illegal gambling, obstruction of justice, 8 counts of murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. And these charges stemmed from the 1980s and early 1990s in New York City. And then they committed these crimes in the 2000s in Las Vegas. After an extensive investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office, they were both convicted of racketeering in 2006, and they each were sentenced to life imprisonment in 2000.
100 years.
That is crazy. They each got a life sentence. One got life plus 80 years, and the other one got life plus 100 years.
Oh, he was lucky. He only got 80. The other guy only got 80 years. He was lucky.
Yeah, and they both died. They both died in prison. In federal custody.
Here's my comments about that. Okay, as being former law enforcement and having worked with I didn't say with internal affairs, but around them. Why didn't internal affairs look after these guys? I mean, that was so obvious. Matter of fact, Ippolito's commanding officer was a friend of mine. Okay, he was a retired captain. I had lunch with him one day in the Oak Room in the plaza, and I asked him. I said, he goes, Ippolito was an asshole. He said he walked around with his shirt open with the gold chains, like he was a tough guy, like he was a mafia guy. It was so obvious that he was playing that role. Caracappa was a good detective, a good quiet guy, well liked, really a good guy. Now, how they got together and did that. Who knows what went on through their mind now? But now, when Ippolito was in Las Vegas, my friend had a restaurant, a very famous restaurant in Las Vegas, and Ippolito used to walk in like he was a gangster, and he give my daughter a job. So my friend gave his daughter a job. It was a mistake. I don't know her name. I don't want to say her name. I have no problem with her, but she did not work out well because she took some of the characteristics of her father in the restaurant as an employee, so they got rid of her. So what bothered me now, I don't have it with me, but I read a book about gas pipe Casso. He was a Lucchese. They did a lot of work for him. He hired them on a number of occasions to whack people. Okay. Now you mentioned about the oath of taking office with the police department. I wonder if they became cops just to become mafia guys. And there have been over the years. I've come in contact with police officers that took the job because not for the money and not for the glory, but so they could make more money with the mob. And it's true. So sometimes you really can't trust even a police officer, even though 99% of them are legitimate, honest people. You got some that are like, okay. Can we introduce? Let's introduce. Would you like to introduce Pam? Would you like to introduce her?
Sure. Okay. So we're operating tonight with a little bit of technical difficulties with our guest. So I'm going to be introducing Angela Cavalcanti. She's our guest this evening. And Angela is a real mob housewife. They had done a life story about her a while ago, and she's joining us tonight. Unfortunately, you can't see her. I'm hoping everyone can hear her because she's having a little bit of technical difficulties on her end. So, Angela, good evening.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Great. Can we hear her?
I hear her.
Okay, good. As long as we can hear
you.
I
barely hear her.
Oh,
on the phone.
There we go.
Calavante.
Angela, you're on.
It's D Calavante, but that's okay.
It's Cavalcanti, but the D has been dropped recently in the past. I don't know how long.
Okay. So Angela,
long string of mob history, I imagine.
So Angela, so tell us, of course, what was the show that you were in years ago where they spoke about your life story?
It was about being married to the mob. The name of the show was I Married a Mobster. It was on Discovery ID, and I was approached that I might have been a mob wife. I was married to the mob, and they hit it on the head. And we did the show. Everyone was from Brooklyn. I was the only Queens. How ironic! The only one from Queens that was married to the mob. All the other so-called hosts were from Brooklyn.
Right.
And it was about my life being married to the Lucchese family, which married into the family, which my father-in-law was, I guess he was like the second to the top, captain or capo, and got married to that. And they reenacted my life being married to the mob, which was no picnic.
What was the lifestyle like, if you can tell us?
Lifestyle of chaos. Just getting into that situation and meeting people and doing everything their way. Oh my God. It was just like everything was their way. You had to stay in their trenches, you go out of the circle. It was a little bit confusing to me. But even though I grew up at the mob, I never actually married into the mob till this particular time. And it was very, very difficult. It happened a time when it was called the Pizza Connection at the time. And it was, I guess, a big FBI thing. And when I got married about a year and a half into it, I had my son, and it was a baby, and the FBI was coming down on the whole operation. It was like the French Connection, but it was the Pizza Connection, and that was the whole New York, or the 5 boroughs, I imagine. I don't know if it was more extended, but it was about selling, I think it was dope, cocaine, all kinds of drugs. It might have been dope and cocaine, I'm not sure, but they sold it out of the pizzerias. Now, I didn't find out till this like after they died and everything, everybody was dead. My father-in-law, my husband. But yeah, it was a Pizza Connection. And when they said the FBI's come, you got to move, you got to leave. They took all my apartment. They got rid of me. I was on the run, I guess. I didn't even know what I was doing. I couldn't comprehend it. So it was rough.
Now, you said you grew up in it. Was your father involved in one of the families?
My father, no. No, no. Actually, my brother, who is now, right now, he's involved in the families. One of the families. I don't have to mind of saying the Gambino family. But he's been with them and around them from day one. I mean, since he's a little boy, he was just always, my family was all around the mob. We grew up with the mob. All with John Gotti, the whole families, everyone in Howard Beach, Queens. We grew up with that. That's all we knew. We knew how to be around that. That's what we know.
Well, one of the topics that Vinny and I had done last week, and then I think even the week before, we're talking about the romanticism and the allure and the obsession that so many people have for so many years with mob movies, the books, the TV series. Then you have the Real Housewives or the Mob Housewives. You literally grew up.
Mob wives.
Mob wives. Thank you. You actually grew up with this for so many years. I mean, what is your opinion as to why everybody seems to be so thrilled and excited to find out what happens?
It was the era. It was the time. That's what was big in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And everybody grew up that way. And that was the fascination, that was what was there, So it was, it just grew, I guess, fascination.
Yeah, it is a fascination. And as I'm growing up in an Italian neighborhood myself, we kind of looked up to the gangsters because they drove fancy cars, they dressed well, they always had hot women.
That too. Yeah.
And sometimes you want to imitate them. You say, what? So sometimes we used to go to the clubs, and there was certain clubs in Brooklyn and in the Bronx that were not as much as in Manhattan, but Brooklyn and the Bronx. They were like known gangster clubs. You went in there, everybody, everybody, when you walked in, everybody looked at you like, who is this guy? Because you didn't know if someone's going to start shooting or if they're going to get arrested, whatever. But that was the excitement of going to those places. I remember there was a place called the Premier East on Fremont Avenue in the Bronx, in a nice area, Frog's Neck. And one of the days I used to drive a cab. I was going to school. And I drove a wise guy there, and he said, he says, this is a great club to meet women, but he said, you never know who's going to take out a gun and start shooting because there's just all kinds of gangsters in there. And you got to remember, with gangsters, they're not all friends. Not all, right, Angela? They're not friends.
Not all friends.
They have their own little beef.
Well, everybody knew who everybody was. If they knew your name. Oh, that's from who? From Brooklyn. Watch out for him. I would even get approached, that's what's his name's daughter. Are you crazy? And somebody, actually a big mobster of my neighborhood who protected me back in the day, he would swoop me off the dance floor and told me, you can't fight with this girl. You know who her father is? And that pretty much explains that.
Nobody wants to go out with a girl that's father's a gangster, because what if you have a fight with her? What if you don't do the right thing? What if you get married and you get divorced? Then you got to worry about the father whacking you, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if I would, if I was a guy. Well, never. I married a nice.
But if you were going to say if I was a guy, you are a guy.
No, I mean, if I was a guy looking to get married to somebody like that, I would think.
Are you sure about that, Tam?
About doing that,
Inquiring
minds. I think I seen him wearing a dress one day.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I might not been
yeah,
there.
well,
Okay, kidding. I'm only kidding. Joking.
Okay, we're going to take a station break right now.
Yeah, hold on. We got to talk about sponsors.
Our sponsors that have restaurants, because she gets hungry.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Okay. Oh, you like the Medicare guy?
Okay, we got the Medicare guy. Mark Turner Insurance for your Medicare and Medicaid needs. The Resource Center. He's in Staten Island. Reach out to him, 718-873-1292. Cash for Cars. We make it easy. Staten Island, fast and easy money. We buy all cars and trucks. And eventually they're going to be called Cash for Trucks. 917-238-1640. Keep supporting Law and Disorder and be a sponsor of our show. And we want to thank Artuso Pastries Since 1946, I have been making the amazing pastries over in the Arthur Avenue section, Little Italy area of the Bronx on East 187th Street. Artuso pastries for your cannoli, the cannoli connection.
The cannoli can, I had a lawyer that represented me on some case once, and he was the prosecutor on the Pizza Connection case. John Jacobs. He died of cancer. Good looking guy, sharp, unbelievable, great lawyer, but
Yeah, Angela, let me ask you something. Tonight's topic, we're talking about those two dirty cops, Stephen Caracappa and Louis Eppolito. And
Angela, does Angela have any comments about them?
Yes, do you know of anything?
What neighborhood was it? What precinct? Do you know the precinct? Because I know where I grew up, 75th precinct and the 106th precinct, they were very corrupt. So that's all I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
actually
corrupt
106
cops.
was
Let me add, Angela. They did work for Casso, gas pipe Casso, who was a Lucchese, and I know your father was a Lucchese. Your grandfather was a Lucchese. Father-in-law. They worked for him when they had to whack somebody. They had them do it because as cops, they could pull up to somebody, put the siren on, pull them over, and say, "I gotta, can I see a license and registration?" And boom, kill them. And they did stuff like that,
For money, yes. For money, people do crazy things for money. Yes, I agree.
But it's a black mark on the police department. And as I said before, how come the police department didn't have watched it? Now, internal affairs will go after a cop if he gets a sandwich for free in a sandwich shop.
You don't want me to go there with internal affairs, do you?
Yes.
Because I got too many. I got a big story, and I don't know. Maybe next time I'll tell you. But that's really, they're not. They're just. It's just bizarre. They're bizarre. I had a personal problem dealing with them personally, and the thing I found out, I had a problem with a certain person which had a lot of money and did a lot of things for people, gave them free this, free that. I found out internal affairs had a little in on that. And I called them up and I actually asked them, "Excuse me, do you know that you have Christmas at And they said, "Oh yeah, they're not on the list of where we were not supposed to be." So they know they're corrupt, they know they're gangsters, they know they're mob family, but yet the internal affairs
is rubbing
that. No, and this is a true story, and it may ruffle some feathers, and I really don't care. But this is how bad when it goes down to internal affairs. Oh, internal affairs. What are you thinking? Oh, well, here's a good. Oh, wait, let's go to the FBI. They're real good. You've seen their record recently, past. All of a sudden we're awakening to that nightmare. So I don't care what. Police, internal affairs, everybody's corrupt. Everybody. I'm telling you, everybody. And all the years I'm living on this planet, yes, I found that I see things now that I couldn't believe were true, that could never happen. You don't grow up, you're thinking, oh no, And guess what? There's a little enlightenment before you go out, to that wherever, that neighborhood in the sky. Everybody's corrupt, okay? All right, everybody. And then you got to pick who's good,
Mm-hmm.
You pick it. Because you never believe that they can actually say to you, internal affairs, "Oh yeah, they're not on the list, so we can go there." So in other words, you get free dinners, and that's why you go there. Free parties, and this is a true story.
And favors.
This is absolute true. Well, my own ears, I heard it, and I called them. And that's the response I got. So, and I found out that internal affairs had whatever they had because a friend of mine had a friend who worked in internal affairs and was retired. And he says they have their Christmas party every year. Oh, really? Well, isn't that a mob-run place? Don't they know? I mean, it's all over the internet. Everyone knows, Oh, and their response was, they're not on the list. We're allowed to. There's a list where they're not supposed to go. They just happen to not be on that list.
Meanwhile, the police department.
You talk about corruption, is one.
The police department knows every wise guy is Kumara, but they don't know that this club is his mob. And by the way, the place you're talking about, I've been there many times, and I've been at the Detectives Endowment Association dinners. I've been at every year
It's
we
a
have a dinner
mob-run
there at
place,
the National
Vinny.
Police Defense
It's a
Foundation.
mob-run place. What is the police doing
Cops
there?
don't care. It's a catering hall.
Well, oh, they rub elbows with them when it's free stuff? Come on. It makes no sense. I don't want to go. I'll let you speak because I don't want to go anywhere else.
No, you're right there. I just had to move you. Okay. Had to move the phone.
You're talking about corrupt police?
Yes, we're talking about tonight we're talking about these two in particular because they were known as the Mafia Cops. They actually did the bidding.
Wrote a book. One of them actually wrote a book.
Mhm.
I think he must have wrote it in jail. He couldn't have written it before he went to jail. Do you know that?
He wrote it while he was in jail.
Yeah, right. And and here's the funny thing: they were unrepentant. They never said they were sorry. They never said, wow, we're sorry what we did. They figure, well, they're going to jail. That's it.
Nobody's sorry. Nobody's sorry. To me, the world that I never thought was possible, that when you're younger, you would never think this, your brain doesn't process this until you get older and you realize, wait a minute, this is the world? Oh, hello. I wish I would have known this, a little earlier in my life. Maybe I would have had a bigger clue, but yes, the whole world's corrupt. Excuse me. The whole world. We can look at TV and know the whole world's corrupt. But the police, internal affairs, sergeants, this, that, police, having dinner and parties and Christmas parties at a mob-run venue, why don't they all hang out and have dinner together? Hello? Or on vacation together.
They probably do.
The restaurant she's talking about has been in the newspaper with Jerry Capici and all these, Gangland and all that. They always mention the place, and they say it's a Gambino hangout.
Which one?
No, it's not a hangout. No, it's run with them. The person that owns it is part of that family.
Yeah.
Wait, which restaurant? Vinny, which restaurant is this?
Russo's on the Bay.
It's
Russo's?
It's a venue.
It's the catering hall.
It's a great It's a great place. They also own Ventro down the
I know.
road.
I've been to Vetro next door.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes, but this is
went on the rooftop, right?
I don't lie. I don't make stories up. I just, I've never been a storyteller. I always,
No, that's what I'm saying, because you've lived it, Angela. You've lived it. You've seen it firsthand.
Lived it. I know the person that owns it. I went to school with them.
I'm saying, but you know these stories, right? But you know these, right? You know these crime families. You know firsthand from growing up. From your father-in-law, your husband. You know what's been going on.
And that's Lucchese. That's another neighborhood. Well, not another neighborhood, but that family's Gambino.
Right. It said the Lucchese and Gambino crime family. That's who these two police officers were doing all the side jobs for. Both in New York and Vegas.
But the funny thing about the cops, if the internal affairs didn't get them, eventually the mob would get them, because at one point in time they'll probably whack them to cover their tracks. Because think about it.
I don't really believe that the internal affairs does anything. If you're gonna be hanging out with the corruption, having dinner and parties, I don't know. This is now, so I don't know what happened through the years. Have they always been corrupt? Now I wouldn't put it past anybody with what I'm seeing today. So, look at the FBI, my friend. I'm talking about too corrupt. Look at the FBI. They've been corrupt for how long? They just found it out a few years ago, right? 2 years ago, whatever. You go on the news and they're telling them the FBI is the biggest corruption. There's so much corruption. Come on. The FBI, Internal Affairs. I don't know about the CIA. What do you think about that, Finn?
Every agency.
Every agency has their moles.
Has corruption. Every agency has some level of corruption. Some very small, some very big. Look at our government. I don't want to get political with the Bidens. We got Hunter Biden. They've been covering his ass. Now they got a grand jury looking at him. That's a crime family, the Biden crime family.
Vinny, who ran the FBI for 30 years with what's his name, that Boston mobster?
I can't say anything bad about the FBI. I can't say anything. I'll tell you why. In
Why?
1984, they gave me an award. I got an award
Oh
from
God!
them for helping them on
Okay,
the
we'll
case.
scratch that then.
It's not the only private eye I've ever got an award from them, but they gave it to me, so I got it. I keep it.
Oh, you probably deserved it, but
Yeah.
who ran the FBI? Who ran the FBI for 30
The
years?
FBI was different in those days.
No.
The FBI was much different. They were
Does
really
anybody know who
hard
ran the
work. Yeah.
FBI for 30 years?
No, but if I start doing a search on it right now, I'm going to knock myself off the screen. So I can't do that.
When I got the award, I had to sign a letter.
Two cops you're talking about.
For
Two cops.
25 years, I can't talk about what I did for them.
What'd you do?
But I could make up any story. I could make up some wild story, and as long as it's not the truth.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I got into we did a case once where we got into a little tiff with the Manhattan DA's office, and they called the feds. They said that I and one of my investigators impersonated immigration officers to interview a guy in a bar. And what happened was we went to see this guy in a bar. Nice guy. What a nice guy. We didn't even say who we were. I said, this is Vinny and this is Ted. Just like that. Didn't even identify ourselves. And he started talking, telling us about, he assumed we were immigration because we were asking questions. So when the two FBI agents came to my office with a subpoena, said, we want to subpoena the two guys that went, I said, right here, give me the subpoena. So I sat next, I was in my office. I made sure that I put my back that he could see the FBI award. He goes, oh, who do you know? Just typical like with the mob. Who do you know? Who you with? I said, I'm with John so and so. Oh, give me the subpoena. They marked complied and they walked away.
So we're not talking just about corruption. We're talking about stupidity too. Well,
what's that?
You can't write this. You couldn't make it up in your wildest imaginations. The truth be told.
Yes.
I love it. And just think I'll be dead in a few years. I know all this now, and I'll be dead in a few years.
No, that's why you got to write your book.
Gotta write it down. Waiting for that opportunity, and once that gets started.
Can she see us? No, she can't see us.
No, she can't see us. She's on the phone.
How come do you have a video on the phone? What do you have, a flip phone?
No. It doesn't matter. I don't have to see you. I've seen you before.
I thought you bought a new phone.
I'm not that impressed. Pam, I might be a little bit more impressed with than you.
I miss you, by the way.
I'm messing with you. But you know what? You're talking about corruption, right? With these two police officers?
Yes.
Who are they again?
It's Stephen Caracappa and Louis Eppolito. Eppolito is the one who, when he was retired, in 1992, he wrote the book, Mafia Cop, the story of an honest cop whose family was the mob.
Yeah, bullshit. That's bullshit. He wasn't an honest cop.
It's like Serpico. Tried to take he's a modern day Serpico. Or maybe, who knows how long ago this is. How long ago was this?
He wrote the book in 1992, and he actually died last year in 2019 in federal custody.
Oh my God. How funny. Yeah, like I'm not surprised. In federal custody? Yeah. Listen, just between me, you, and whoever your listeners are.
Let me interrupt. Angela, can you you were on our show in October. Can you tell us about your sister, how with the armed robbery? It's a funny story.
For what?
So here's, I'm going to round it up to you. I'm talking about with the corruption, the internal affairs, the FBI, all the sergeants, benevolent, whatever. Whoever goes to these parties at this venue in the neighborhood. That's my book. My book is about me growing up in the neighborhood. I grew up as a little girl with all the mobsters, John Gotti. My sister became like the female. They used to call her the female John Gotti. That was her name. I mean, she got that name. She was a pretty poison. Her and what was her name? John Jr.'s sister-in-law. Her and my sister terrorized the neighborhood. But that's just a little piece of it. My brother's a mobster today. What a lovely guy he is. He's just the best of the best. Now he's a legitimate wise guy. You know, he's got his button and
Wait. Is that an oxymoron, a legitimate wise guy?
But he did armored cars back in the day. Like, that's going to be in my book. You know, they did 2 armored cars. They're like the Goodfellas 2. You know, this is Goodfellas 2.
I got to, excuse me, William T.I. The IAB is there to protect the image of the police department. I think you're 100% right. They're not there to protect us from the police. They're protecting their own asses. That's what they are.
What, the internal affairs?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's wait till Christmas again. Maybe we'll hang out in front of the venue and see who comes to the Christmas party. Because I know they have their Christmas party every year at the Gambino, crime drug pavilion, or whatever you want to call it, the venue. Yes. This is, when I found this out, this was last year, I almost choked. You know what, was I surprised? Not really. Not really. Was it news? Yes. Surprised? No. Because, you know, I know that this particular venue is paid off by that one person who runs those places. And they're all paid off. Everybody's paid off. I know it for a fact. They're paid off. Okay.
Well, Angela, keep in mind, Angela.
You couldn't make this up. Like I said, that's why I'm writing the book. You couldn't make this up in your wildest dreams. This is not Fantasyland. You know, Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, that's Fantasyland. This is not Fantasyland. You can't make this up. Speaking of Johnny Depp,
we're going to talk about the Johnny Depp trial. That's an interesting trial. Amber Heard.
Anyway, you know,
have you heard about Amber Heard?
It's all over. The corruption, the news, the media, the elections, the this and that. Everything is corruption. Where do you turn where there's not corruption? It's how about the whole world corrupt? And it's sad because now it's coming to a head. Now it's being other countries, and it's going to be the whole world's going to have to see. You know, this has been going on forever. Right. And our country's finally, because our country's only 250 years old. So, you know, we've been in corruption, but now everything's coming out. You know, eventually everything rises to the top. What's the saying, Vinny?
The cream rises to the top.
Thank you, Pam. The cream rises to the top. And now everybody's eyes are like, oh, some people are like surprised. You know, I was never surprised. I was never surprised because I seen so much growing up. I seen so much corruption. I seen my own family. Like, they wouldn't give you 3 seconds for your life. They would kill you in a minute. My own family, my own flesh and blood. So, you know, I mean, would think nothing of putting a bullet in your head and throwing your trunk, which was threatened many times. This is what I'm saying. We're human beings, and we are perfect. I don't think so. You know,
Angela, we've got to take a break.
People go to heaven. I don't know if Christ is going to forgive everybody, but this world's in a spin. 2 police officers. The whole world's corrupt.
Angela, we're going to take a commercial break. Angela,
I didn't read the book yet either, but I will, just out of curiosity. Hold on one moment, because we got to jump back into doing another sponsor. So stay with us, Angela. We'll be right with you.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the sponsors.
Patrick's Pizzeria since 1933 on Utopia Parkway in Whitestone. Phenomenal food. It's called a pizzeria, but it's really a restaurant. Their food is, they have something that you never heard before.
I can't hear.
They have a, can I talk? They have a Philly cheesecake egg roll. It's unbelievable. Nobody's ever done that before. It's phenomenal. And then Bulgatti's on 187th Street near Arthur Avenue. They have the best raviolis and egg noodles. They're fresh. They made them right on the spot, or you can get them frozen. They're unbelievable. And of course, you got my 4 books that I wrote. Mafia Double Cross, about the mafia and the FBI going on vacation together and having terrorists take over the hotel. I'm not going to say anything more. Investigations After Dark, a whole bunch of sexy divorce kind of cases, sexual orientated cases. Detective's Kitchen. I went to French cooking school as a hobby, and I cook Italian also. And when my guys are out on surveillances, I make up a dish for them. And Rogue PI is about some of my high profile cases that I worked on. Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, Elton John DNA, Marilyn Monroe's watch that she gave to Robert F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy is another story. I want to talk about that. And a few other, Anthony Quinn divorce case we worked on. That was in the newspapers. And the soccer mom, also known as the Anna Christina case. I was on TV and I was on the front page of a couple of newspapers with that. And my daughter's company, Parco and Associates, assets, background checks, locate, due diligence, criminal. And she's a chip off the old block. So now we got 7 more minutes. We got Angela. Do you have any final thoughts on the subject?
Like I said, the people you don't think that you think too. It's just like a small, part. No, you gotta look deep because you'll be shocked. Because I didn't even look deep. Somebody told me, and now I know that the internal affairs, besides the precinct, the police, the sergeant's benevolent, God knows who goes to the Christmas party. Everybody has a little piece. And this guy, he has a lot of money, so he likes to be on top. So my point to you, people will do anything for power, and money is power. Okay, power is money, money is power. So, and that's the way the world works. Money is power, power is money. So everybody, if there's corruption there, if there's about money and power, absolutely. And it was lovely talking to you guys.
It was great having you on.
Thank you.
You're a very interesting guest.
Because I have a lot to say. I'm pretty included.
No, you do. You have a lot to talk about because this was the lifestyle.
You lived it. She lived it.
I lived it. In fact, I lived it not even a couple of years ago. So it never ends. Like people think that, this happened in the 60s, 70s. Yeah. No, it's still going on, and it's just like it's kept undercover. Now that we got someone with Twitter, maybe we can tweet away now, and we won't get taken off because it's not. Okay, we can't talk about that because that's corruption. We don't want anybody to know that,
Yeah, but you know what it is now? Everything is being brought into the light now.
Thank God. Thank God. I tell you, you know what? God has a funny way of fixing things. And I don't know if this place we could be fixed, but he's given us every tool to try and help here and there, and hopefully we do. And I'm not saying I'm going, I'm so holy than thou, but Jesus Christ. The things that I see, I can't even believe. As you get older, you get wiser. Now you see things. But it's not stopping. This corruption is like just running rampant, Hunter Biden. He's at the White House having Easter Sunday dinner. Meanwhile, he's God knows what he hasn't done to this country. I can't make it up. So I love it. I love it. You know why I love it? Because I'm smart enough to see it now. 20 years ago, you're a little stupid,
No, but
illiterate,
20 years ago, we didn't have the access to all this information that we have now.
Right.
Now, everything's literally the world and beyond is at your fingertips.
Everything's on video. No matter where you go, someone's got a camera.
Elon Musk on Twitter. Now that he owns Twitter, you know what? I'm thinking that this is totally in the favor of the free world, and that's important. Forget the corruption that'll always be there. The police, the detectives, they'll always go to the venue in Howard Beach because as long as they get a free party or free meal, free cup of coffee, like the cops like the coffee and the donut, don't charge them. Well, there's a whole bigger venue than that going on. It's not just about a free coffee. They want free everything, and it's all about people like things for free too. And once they get a taste of free, is there no ethics anymore? Where are the ethics? Internal affairs, police benevolent. I don't know what Vinny says. He spent a couple of the Gambino crime family. They're involved. They get $1 for every plate they serve. The Gambino gets kicked back to them. Oh, okay. So the cops are giving money to the Gambino family. Yeah, bring it on. Doesn't get better than this. You got. That's why the more I talk, the more I get to realize. See this, see that. My God. And you know the sad part, Pam, and it's true.
It's
not
true.
even fabricated in any way.
Wait, hold on 1 second. For everybody who's watching, please follow us on Instagram. It's Law and Disorder on Instagram. And continue to watch our show, tune in, and follow us every week as we're growing with you. So we're all growing together with our topics and our guests. Follow us on Instagram, Parco Media, Law and Disorder, hosted by Vinnie Parco and Pamela Roth. It's the @lawanddisorder.podcast on Instagram. And you can see us on YouTube and on Roku. We are on numerous social media platforms.
Spotify.
Oh my God, I'm going to be all over the news.
You're going to be all over.
Google Podcast. And who knows? Who we don't even know what other platforms we're on.
Okay, not Roku.
Hey, can you delete all this? Delete what I said. No.
Oh, Anchor. You left out Anchor. We're on Anchor too.
Oh, we're on Anchor. Okay. And of course, for everybody who's interested, no, there is no business too big or too small to join us as a sponsor. We are now streaming on the following platforms. I'll get this right one of these days. We're on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Anchor, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. So as we grow, we can only grow with all of you as our sponsors, our viewers, and our supporters. So thank you so much. And one of the things that we like to do every single week is to ask our guests, what's one thing, Angela, that you are thankful for?
Thankful for God.
Okay.
That's about it. Thankful for God.
And
somebody's got to be watching over us.
Oh, besides the drones?
We're definitely doomed.
Well, besides God, it's also the drones that are flying overhead and watching us right now.
Who?
The drones.
Oh, okay. Maybe a little bit helps, right?
Vinny, what's one thing that you're thankful for?
I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. Everybody's healthy. And I'm thankful I'm not married anymore. No, I shouldn't say that. Anybody out there is interested, I'm available. That's all I could say.
Okay.
I will not marry Angela.
Okay.
Too much to handle.
Okay. Well, I'm thankful for my health and my family and my fabulous son, who makes me more and more proud every single day.
Good. Okay, and I want to
thank you, both of us. We want to thank Anthony. Anthony behind the screens. You keep us going and moving and shaking and grooving every week.
And as we say on Arthur Avenue, sempre noi, always with us. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Angela. Good night, everyone. See you next week.